Hey, gang, thanks for joining us. Jeff from Damper 3.
Hey, it's Eric.
Tonight, when I was out with, consumption and cholera and dying and stuff, Eric messaged me and he said, "Hey, what's some of the cartoons that we watched?" And I mentioned a few cartoons to him. He was like, "Okay, great," because I was just gonna, throw something together and put out there. So he literally he set me up. He grabbed some of my ideas and he jumped in and recorded without me. So this is the grudge match. This is where we discuss cartoons.
What makes it
Gen X
especially sweet is that I made sure to purposely ignore some of your suggestions because I
Oh,
figred that would add a little bit of injury to the insult.
it did. Yes. No.
Excellent.
That did not go unnoted.
For
That
those of
was
you who saw that episode on the Gen X cartoons, I did say during that episode that this was sowing the seeds for a future argument, and here we are.
I'd like to have an argument, please.
So, so Jeff, I'm going to invite you to kick us off, and let's see where this goes.
all right. Okay. Well, I have five total.
Okay.
With an honorable mention as well. So my honorable mention goes to Wizards by Ralph
Wizards.
Bakshi. Yes. Now I assume, and I'm really hoping anyways, I assume that you thought this was going to be cartoon series.
I did.
Yes. That's why I jumped in with no, put your finger down. That's why I jumped in with Wizards. It's a movie. It was 1977 by Ralph Bakshi. And that's the one that you mentioned had Luke Skywalker in it.
Yep.
Whatever his human name is.
Mark Hamill.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah,
Never
it
know.
takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where both magic and tech exist.
20th Century Fox presents Wizards, a futuristic fantasy epic born in the mind of Ralph Bakshi, the master of animated magic.
Do you remember the main good guy's name? The main good guy was Avatar.
Oh,
And
right.
yeah. Main bad guy, Black Wolf. And full disclosure, I had to look that up. I did not remember that. Now, the robot that's riding
Peace.
the ostrich-looking thing, yes.
Peace.
Yeah, the robot that was on the cover of the movie is Peace. But do you remember his original name before he was renamed Peace?
No. Nope.
Okay. This is one that I knew. Necron 99.
Oh, wow. No,
Yeah.
I never would have known that.
Right.
Wow.
So there's my honorable mention. Now, if you want, I can step in, or you can just go ahead and start on your list.
Well, you know what? I do have an honorable mention too. Like you said, I did kind of stick to series. This one actually, I was a little surprised. It actually is not a Gen X cartoon at all. It aired from 1959 to 1963, but I never would have known it because it was everywhere. But it was the Rocky and Bullwinkle show.
Oh, yes. Oh,
I thought for sure that was a 70s, type cartoon, but that one actually predated the Gen X time. So I say this because obviously we claim a lot for the Gen X period. Actually, it's been brought to our attention that we're kind of over claiming because, technically the guys who made the stuff that we're looking at were probably, baby boomers, that sort of thing. But this is the stuff that shaped us. And so
Right.
I give an honorable mention to Rocky and Bullwinkle show, Natasha and Boris and Natasha and,
fearless leader.
yeah, so that was a really good one. So, but no, I'm gonna
Right.
let you
Now,
go ahead and start diving in.
Interesting to note, I I have no proof, and so this has been one of those things that I have never used as a claim to fame, but is something that somebody told me. There was a guy I used to work with who said that his father was the original voice of Rocky.
Oh,
Not Rocky, of Bullwinkle, forgive me, of Bullwinkle. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. He grew up in California. He was kind of flaky, so maybe it was. I don't know. He passed away a while back, so you know. Hey,
Might be able to
Rob,
look that
thanks
up.
for the good time. But anyways, there we go. All right, so number five. Number five. It's hard to say that I liked this one, but I liked it ish esque. Inspector Gadget.
Okay.
Now, Inspector Gadget to me was a knockoff slash spinoff of Get Smart.
Of course, right?
Yes, yes. Don Adams was the voice of Inspector Gadget. The main bad guy of Inspector Gadget was Dr. Claw, or the Craw from Get Smart. Let's see, what else do I have on here? Yeah, he just had the one main villain. He didn't have a whole bunch of them like Don
Right.
Adams did. Like, yeah.
Right.
Now, that's something interesting. I'm gonna diverge here again. I was watching like a documentary or something a while back, and they were talking about working on Get Smart, and it was a challenge for them to get through an entire take without other cast members adopting Maxwell Smart's, Don Adams' voice inflection and nasal intones for the speech patterns. So it was jacking up their recording schedule because they would all start talking like this, Chief.
That's hilarious. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah. So that's my Inspector Gadget. Go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to kick us off with Battle of the Planets. I mentioned this during the abbreviated short episode from when you were out on Death's Door. I bring it up because now I get to throw a little bit of trivia at you. Okay. All right. So you know the characters, Jeff. Do you know who provided the voice acting for Mark?
Mark. Yes, I do. Wait a minute. Yeah, I sure do. Now, I didn't, but in researching, yes, I do. Casey Kasem.
I could not believe that. That blew
Floored
me away.
I think he was also Shaggy, wasn't he?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he was Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
I did not know that. But yeah, Casey Kasem, top 100, top 40, whatever he was.
Yeah, top something.
But yeah, I could not believe that. I also found out when I was kind of going down that rabbit hole that Princess was voice acted by an actress called Janet Waldo, and she did a lot of cartoon voices, but she was almost always Judy Jetson. So anytime you heard Judy Jetson, it was the same person who played Princess. But,
wow.
All right, so that's my number 5.
Okay, well, you stole one of my trivia questions for later.
Oh,
because Casey. All right, so onward to 1977 yet again, The Hobbit.
Oh, okay. So you went right outside. Okay.
Awesome
choice.
I leapt onto the movies because I figured you would be, like I said, I figured you were going to be on the series, so I was gonna jack around with this. Let's see. I think they did a really good job with the entire production. They didn't stick 100% to the story, but they did an excellent job with it. It was really my first introduction to Tolkien. I was probably about 14 or 15 years old when I found out that they didn't stick entirely to the story, and that's probably when I started reading Tolkien, because I was in high school and I was talking about it, and I was like, yeah, I like that part where Gandalf says to Bilbo regarding his disappearing while they were adventuring, that his story had the ring of truth to it. And this nerd that I was talking to said, Gandalf never said that. No, that didn't happen.
He sounds like a smart person.
Yeah. Do you remember that conversation, by the way?
I remember the essence of it.
Okay. Yeah.
That I loved that show, but even as a Tolkien, absolutist, knowing that how much it diverged, I tell you what, the thing I cannot stand about that show are the elves.
Why did you dwarfs try to attack me?
No attack. We came to beg. We were starving.
And why were you in the forest in the first place?
That is our business.
Very well. Take them away until they feel inclined to tell the truth, even if they wait 100 years.
The elves are those hideous, kind of grotesque creatures. You know, I love the king of the wood, the mist of Mirkwood, and he comes out there with that German accent and all hunched over. He's like, "What are you doing in the forest?" You know, it's just horrifying. So I was offended by that because it's like the animators were like, you know, we can't do beautiful. Let's just go the other way.
Yeah.
Cool.
They could have borrowed from Ralph Bakshi because in Wizards, let's just not talk about the elves and wizards. Let's just stick with this. So that's going to take us off on a Life Force to spin off. So let's not go there. All right. So we're back to you.
All right. Well, my number 4, I might segue into my number 3 for reasons, but my number 4 was He-Man and Masters of the Universe. You know, it was launched in 1983, played through 1985. It was controversial, I found out when as I was reading, doing a little homework. It's controversial because it was, you know, the first, I think arguably the first cartoon that was blatantly just a tie-in with toys, right? And at the time, there were laws that were out there saying you can't market directly to children, or like it greatly restricted it to like educational material and that kind of thing. And so He-Man was apparently quite controversial at that time. Now I could talk about, I mean, I loved, you know, I remember He-Man played, I don't know if this was, I think it was daily. I can't remember if it was primarily a Saturday morning thing, and then they just kind of, you know, put the extra episodes on the weekday, but there was a battery of cartoons that would play around 3:30 or so. And so after school, right, I would run back home to watch this, right? And my favorite episode was one I can still remember. It's called Evil Seed.
Who are you?
I am Evil Seed, master of the plant kingdom, and I am taking over. And you, Bonehead, all the miserable treasure you have, that shall be mine also.
No! Look, he's on top of the dam!
Now hear me, all of you. My plans and I have slept for years. Now we waken to claim eternity.
I didn't even need to look it up. It's called Evil Seed.
Wow.
And it's because this plant monster wizard thing kind of takes over Eternia, and He-Man and Skeletor have to join forces. And it was crazy because they were bantering back and forth, you know, and you know they're and Skeletor's just whining the whole time. And I remember a scene where he says, "Don't you ever want to do something evil?" And He-Man's like, "Don't you ever want to do something good?" You know, it just kind of back and forth. But that was my absolute favorite episode. And just as a point, I put out a poll of favorite
weapons,
coolest cartoon weapon, and by far He-Man's power sword dominated that poll. So if you have an opinion on this, you might want to go check out our poll. But
I meant to go out there and straighten them out because it's supposed to be the sonic boomerang that Mark threw.
Oh I thought that was going to be the winner too, but nope. Yeah. Power sword far and away. Now I'm going to go ahead and segue into my number 3 because it came out at the same time, G.I. Joe. And
G.I. Joe, yet another commercial.
The reason why, and this has cracked me up, and this was in Wikipedia, so you know it's obviously true. But it made this point that the G.I. Joe wasn't considered as controversial as He-Man. You know why?
Because they were used to commercials at that point.
No, because they both came out in '83.
Oh, okay.
G.I. Joe origin was actually as a comic book and a toy line. And so the laws are governing marketing for literary things were not as stringent as cartoon. So they made the argument, this is a cartoon with a literary component, not a toy component. And so it was able to get around some of the restrictions, I guess, that He-Man was bumping into. But since I brought it up, let me ask you, Best Joe.
Oh, man. Okay.
There's only one answer, so I don't want to hear anything other than the right answer.
Snake Eyes.
Of course. It has to be Snake Eyes. Yes. Everyone likes Snake Eyes.
Now, see, I was going to go into, I personally, I absolutely loved Star Wars figures, and I was playing with them, and I remember about a year before G.I. Joe came out, hearing that they were going to be making a G.I. Joe cartoon and it would be released. And I remember thinking, this is going to be so great because I'm going to be able to incorporate all this military tech in with my Star Wars figures. And by the time they finally got it out, I was to the point that I just wasn't comfortable playing with action figures anymore.
Right.
I was so EO'd.
Right.
Oh, man. And I would just look at those guns and tanks and just, yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
All right. Got 4 and 3.
Let's see. No, I've got 4. 4 was The Hobbit.
Oh, that's right. What's your 3?
Yeah. So number 3, once again, we're talking about favorite cartoons.
Sure.
Not series.
Sure.
So my favorite, number 3, favorite cartoons was The Wonderful World of Disney Movie Night. So it was just Disney movies. They would come on like on, I think it was like Saturday nights or Sunday nights. I forget. It was once a week, and they would play one of the Disney movies.
Okay.
And I was always kind of disappointed when it was a Mickey Mouse, but if it was a Donald Duck or a Goofy movie, yeah, I was thrilled. I was always happy with that. That was always sort of a family time to, my parents would sit there and watch it with me until I got engrossed in it. Then they would probably go do something else. But it was always just it's got a real warm place in my heart.
Cool. So, yeah. I vaguely recall that. I remember, I don't think I had enough patience to sit through some of that, especially. I remember the first time I got to watch Fantasia, I was just obsessed with it. And like 10 minutes into it, I'm just like nodding off because you see the advertisements with Mickey being the wizard, but that's like towards the end and everything else is nuts. And so so if I saw something that smacked to that, I was out of there.
Now I'm going to actually bleed into number 2 with this.
All right.
And just because it's a similar once a week kind of thing. It was Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Had nothing to do with cartoons, but you know me, I don't really follow rules, even if it was my rules when I brought them up. And that's the reason I bring that up is because Marlon Perkins, he hosted it, and Pop always liked to watch Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. So we would all sit down and watch Marlon Perkins talking about the animals. And so, that's just, that was my number 2 favorite. It wasn't a cartoon, but we
watched that as well. Yeah. And I
bound by your laws.
Marlon was pretty calming guy. He's kind of like, he's like the kid's Walter Cronkite, just watched it to make sure that everything was right in the world.
Put your mind to Doug Batchelor.
All right, so I'm going to do, I got a couple options here, but I'm going to go with my number 2, Transformers, 1984 to 1987. Who is the best, and there could be a couple answers here, but the best, in my opinion, all right, now let me scratch that. I thought the coolest Transformer. Everyone went for Optimus, you know, what have you, but I was a big fan of Jazz. And I like Jazz because, well, I recognized that even before I knew his name, I knew Scatman Crothers' name and or his voice. And so as soon as, you know, I thought Jazz was the coolest. And so from the Autobots, I was always wanting Jazz stuff. And now I never had it. I never got it because they were expensive. But on the bad guy side was Soundwave. And Soundwave was by far the coolest of all of them. Now, it's true that, you know, Megatron gets to turn into a gun, but you know, I still have
put Soundwave back up there.
My Soundwave.
Oh, nice.
Yep, this is the one. I'll have everyone know that I used to have this, you know, years ago, and it was like a desk prop, and so I lost it. It got destroyed or something. I believe this is the one, Jeff, that was when I came back from maybe it's when I just got out of the military, and you guys had some kind of Transformers cache you came across, and you opened it up and you said you get to pick one. And I picked out Soundwave, I believe, if I recall that setup. So I think this is the one you let me have.
Yeah.
So, but I have one piece of trivia. Well, and it's not a trivia question because I did not know this. I mean, it makes sense, but I had no idea. Did you realize that the guy who does Optimus's voice, a voice actor by the name of Peter Cullen, has done Optimus Prime with every single movie? I had no idea.
Every Optimus, yes, I did.
I mean, I've heard his voice, of course, and I thought, oh, that sounds like Optimus Prime. Good job. I did not know it was the same guy.
Yeah. Okay, now see, as far as the Transformers, I always thought the GoBots were better.
Oh, you liar.
I said it with a straight face.
You did. I was impressed. But I'm like, no, he's trying to start an argument here.
Yeah, that's all that was. That was an argument. All right. You want to go to your number one, or you want me to take over?
My number one, and it's a complete divergence. 1973 to I want to say late 80s, and then it came back in the 90s, and then Schoolhouse Rock. I am doing a little bit of revisionism as an adult, because if you would ask me this as a child growing up in the 80s, I would not have said that. I would have said I liked it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I would not have said it was my number one choice, but how can you not? You know, I mean,
wasn't it Bart and Lisa that were watching something and then we're like, wait a minute, we're learning.
Probably. But yeah, Schoolhouse Rock, I mean, it just everything. And I was reading up on how, how it all started because this one guy, he was a big exec in the TV industry. His son was struggling with math, but he memorized all the Rolling Stones songs. And he's like, my kids can learn, but they're not learning the right way. So he had a friend help him put together a song about it. And next thing you know, someone else at whatever, I forget which company he worked for, is like, hey, let's turn this into a cartoon. And they did. And, you know, it's obviously formed very fundamental core memories for us Gen Xers. So my favorite is that. And here's a little bit of trivia. So, you know, one of the ones that, of course, most people will bring up is the I'm Just a Bill one. That was apparently, I don't know if you remember, but the cartoon shows that, you know, I used to be an idea, and it shows a railroad track and a hand come up, and it, like, you know, you could see that the implication being that they wanted a stop sign at railroad tracks.
Well, I got this far. When I started, I wasn't even a bill. I was just an idea. Some folks back home decided they wanted a law passed, so they called their local congressman, and he said, "You're right, there ought to be a law." Then he sat down and wrote me out
and apparently the year before, there was this really notorious or well-publicized accident where a train hit a school bus. And so there was actually a bill on Capitol Hill for this very thing. And at the end of Schoolhouse Rock, it becomes a law. In real life, it did not. Passed. So there was questions about its constitutionality somehow. So eventually, the Department of Transportation enforced a regulation, which is not as cool sounding as, I was a bill and now I'm a law kind of thing. So
Yeah.
a little bit of real world damper on that.
All right. Okay, so my number one, Battle of the Planets, also known as G-Force. Yep.
That's pretty
They
good.
had they had five crew members of this craft. It was Tiny. He flew the Phoenix, which was the main craft. Then there was Keop, and he flew some kind of, I don't know, was it a submarine or a bubble thing? I don't know.
It was a
It
bubble
was
thing,
not,
yeah.
yeah, some
It
kind
went
of bubble
underwater
thing.
a lot.
Yeah. Then there was Jason, who had a race car.
Yep.
And Mark had a jet.
Yep.
It was the nose of the plane. And then
no. The
no,
nose.
oh no, it was the wings on top.
It was the back. It was the
and the back on top.
Right.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, the
okay.
nose
All right,
was
all
the
right.
car. Jason's car got picked up and it got put into the nose.
Yeah. And then Princess had a motorcycle, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. She got pulled up into one of the wings.
Whatever. It didn't matter. She was a girl. I wasn't interested in that.
I liked the bolo she had. I always thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's cool. Yeah.
Wait, did she have the bolo or was that Keop?
I think that was Keop.
Yes, right. Keop had that. That's right.
And the they would all be together and when they had to get through something really bad, they would activate the fiery Phoenix.
Awesome. And
yes.
That was only supposed to be for, last ditch effort, and that came up quite a lot.
Oh yeah, it was always a last ditch effort, almost every episode. All right, so now who was what was the name of their man at the keyboard?
7 Zark 7.
Yes. He was a goofy R5D4 knockoff.
Yeah.
With arm.
He got on my nerves, actually. I never really cared for him.
Yes.
He was under the ocean. Now, did you know? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's fine.
Did you know, at least in the beginning episode, because I just happened to watch the very first episode, they actually had a specific mission, G-Force.
Okay.
And it wasn't just defense of the planet. I should have written it down. There was actually a very rare earth mineral that was mined from the bottom of the ocean that made it so that any planet could grow their crops. It basically puts life into soil. And so if it wasn't for this, a lot of planets would no longer be habitable. And so because Earth was apparently like the only place this stuff came from, they had to defend this rare earth mineral or whatever it was. And so the very first episode was Zoltar's folks coming in there to steal this stuff. And I don't know if that carried through, or if they discarded that later on, because I don't remember the series. But yeah, I was a little surprised that they got very specific on what they were supposed to be doing here.
Yeah. Okay, so you remembered Zoltar, because that was going to be one of my questions. Do you remember the one time that Zoltar got unmasked?
Yes, it's a woman.
It was somebody with long blonde hair. They never showed the face.
They never did, and they wondered if he was a woman.
Right.
I remember them saying they would want. Yep, I do remember that one.
Yeah. I was so mad at that. Once again, I'll be honest with you. I'm heterosexual. I'm married. I have kids, but at that age, girls just made me mad. They weren't supposed to be in the adventure. I wasn't interested in Princess. I wasn't interested. No, just let the guys go fight. So when Zoltar had that long blonde hair, I was just like, nah, it's a dude with long blonde hair. That's it. That's it. Yeah. Okay, so now there was a character added to G-Force that was not in or Battle of the Planets, if you want, that was not in the original Japanese. Because It was to make it more appealing to little kids.
Keop?
No. Seven's Arc 7 had a pet.
Oh, I don't remember.
One Rover 1.
Ah, man, there's something clanging around in the memory there, but I don't.
Yeah, that was. Oh, I hated One Rover 1. Yeah, no. Everything about Seven's Arc 7 just torqued me off because he was a Star Wars knockoff, and I was tired. Yeah,
I think it's funny that they had to come up with something to make this cartoon more appealing to kids. I tell you, something that made me laugh reading up the Wikipedia summary of Battle of the Planets was how it just kind of nonchalantly said, in order to make it more family friendly, they decided to opt out of the extreme violence and swearing or something like that. Like, oh, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah. I don't know. That was the 70s, man. That was kind of like just, home life, wasn't it?
It's called discipline.
Yeah, you got to boil it first. That's it for me, man.
Yeah, I have a ton of, things that could have come up, any of the Looney Tunes series, I mean, those are obviously foundational. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? I mean, loved that. Glengar the Barbarian.
I had one, Stunt Dogs.
Oh, I don't think I watched
But it was
Stunt
actually 1991 or 1992. So it was, at the cusp. But it was all about these stuntmen that had to fight off the stunt scabs from stealing their roles in movie. And
all right, folks.
Plenty to be had out there.
Yep. Lots to go through. So let us know what we missed, what the big crimes were, what we missed, what we got right. Please leave a comment. We're getting lots of awesome engagement out there. Please like and subscribe, and
hey, look for us. Look for us on Instagram, Facebook.
Yep, we're everywhere. We are.
Check out our OnlyFans.
I'm not sure about that one. But thanks a lot, everyone. Appreciate you joining us.
Have a great one.
Day.
We'll talk. Bye.